You know what's fascinating? Women aren't just attracted to looks, money, or charm. There's something deeper, something subconscious. And most men are completely unaware they're missing it. It's a bad boy trait, but not the reckless, arrogant kind you see in movies. This one? It's about boldness, confidence, and the willingness to break small rules without fear. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how this trait works on women, why it sparks attraction, and why most men are too afraid to show it. By the time we reach the last example, you'll notice women reacting differently to men who show this, even subtly. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. Sign number 1, the confidence to speak what others avoid. This isn't about being rude or offensive. It's about saying what you think, calmly, confidently, even if it's slightly uncomfortable. Most men avoid it. They fear judgment. But a woman notices when a man is mentally fearless. Even small moments, a bold opinion, a confident decision, trigger intrigue. Here's why this works so powerfully. Most social conversations are managed. People say what's safe. They agree when they don't fully agree. They avoid opinions that might create friction. And that's exactly why it all blurs together. Every man in the room sounds the same: careful, cautious, calculated. And then one man says what he actually thinks, calmly, without bracing for impact, without checking if the room approves first. And something shifts. Not because he was provocative, but because he was real. Women feel the difference between a man who's performing and a man who's present, and a man who says what he means, without drama, without aggression, signals something rare. He has an inner world, he trusts it, and he doesn't need you to validate it before he'll share it. That's not arrogance, that's groundedness. And groundedness is one of the most underrated attraction triggers that exists. Sign number 2, calm in situations. Most men panic. Stress, uncertainty, minor conflicts. A man who stays calm without overreacting signals stability and power. Women subconsciously notice control and emotional strength, and it sparks curiosity and respect. Let's be specific about what calm actually looks like. Because calm isn't silence, it's not detachment, it's not pretending nothing is happening. Real calm is being fully aware of what's happening and not being controlled by it. The server gets the order wrong. The plan falls apart at the last minute. Someone says something cutting in public. A man without this trait reacts, visibly. He gets flustered, gets defensive, gets loud. A man with it? He pauses, takes in the situation, responds with the minimum energy required, and moves on. Women notice this more than almost anything else, because what they're watching for isn't how a man behaves when everything is easy. They're watching for how he behaves when something goes wrong. That's the real data. And a man who stays level when others unravel signals something fundamental. This person won't be destabilized by life. He won't take his stress out on me. He can handle what comes. That's not a small thing. That's exactly the kind of strength that builds deep, lasting attraction. And here's the thing most men don't realize. It's not just confidence. It's the fearlessness to be unapologetically yourself that makes women curious. Because confidence without authenticity is just performance, and women can feel the difference. A man performing confidence is always slightly tense, always slightly monitoring the reaction, always adjusting for the audience. But a man who is simply himself, he doesn't need to monitor anything. He's not performing, he's just there. And that ease? That's what's actually magnetic. Sign number 3, he breaks small social norms comfortably. Not dangerous. Not reckless. Simple things. Saying something unexpected in conversation. Laughing at rules nobody questions. Choosing a path most men avoid. Women notice autonomy and independence. This small rule-breaking signals a man who's his own person, which triggers attraction subconsciously. Here's the psychology underneath this. Humans are wired to follow social scripts. We do what's expected. We say what's appropriate. We fill our role in the group. And most people spend their entire lives inside those scripts. So when a man steps outside them, even slightly, even in a small, harmless way, it creates a pattern interrupt. And pattern interrupts create attention. She wasn't expecting that. It didn't follow the script, and now she's curious. Because the men who follow every social rule perfectly are predictable, and predictable doesn't generate curiosity. The man who occasionally, calmly, unbothered, does something slightly unexpected stays interesting, because you can never fully predict him. And that unpredictability keeps her engaged in a way safety never could. Sign number 4. He takes action without waiting for permission. Women notice when men decide and act. Not impatience, not aggression, just decisiveness. The ability to move forward while others hesitate signals strength and confidence. Classic bad boy psychology. Here's the distinction most men miss. Decisiveness is not the same as being controlling. A controlling man makes decisions to dominate. A decisive man makes decisions because he trusts himself enough to move. And the difference is felt immediately. When a group is standing around asking, "Where do you want to go?" "I don't know, what do you want?" "Doesn't matter to me." And one man says, "Let's go here." The energy in the room shifts, not because anyone needed to be told what to do, but because someone willing to decide took the weight off everyone else. And that willingness to carry a small amount of weight without being asked, that's leadership. And leadership, even quiet, casual leadership, is deeply attractive because it signals a man who won't collapse under the pressure of small decisions, which suggests he also won't collapse under the pressure of big ones. And most men completely misunderstand this. They think being bold equals being reckless. It doesn't. It's subtle, controlled, and deliberate. Boldness isn't volume. It's not aggression dressed up as confidence. Real boldness is quiet. It's the steady decision made without fanfare, the opinion shared without defensiveness, the boundary held without anger. That kind of boldness doesn't need to announce itself. It's just evident, and women feel it long before they can name it. Sign number 5. He shows comfort with his own presence. This is subtle but powerful. A man who enjoys his own company, his own mind, and his own energy doesn't seek constant validation. This inner freedom sparks attraction because it signals independence and emotional self-sufficiency. Let's talk about what the opposite of this looks like. A man who isn't comfortable in his own presence is always slightly reaching for approval, for attention, for confirmation that he's doing okay. It shows up in small ways, laughing slightly too hard at his own jokes to check if others followed, filling silences with things he doesn't mean, adjusting his opinions based on whoever he's talking to. And women pick up on this immediately, not because they're judging, but because they're wired to notice emotional security, or the absence of it. Now compare that to a man who is genuinely at ease with himself. He doesn't need to fill every silence. He doesn't check for reactions after every sentence. He doesn't shift his position every time the wind changes. He just occupies his space, comfortably, fully, without apology. That kind of presence has gravity. People are drawn toward men who don't need to be drawn to, because self-sufficiency is rare, and rare things are always interesting. Sign number 6. He speaks playfully yet assertively. The combination of humor and controlled assertiveness triggers curiosity. Women notice. He's fun, he's confident, he's not trying too hard. That's a dangerous combination for attraction. Here's what makes this combination so effective. Humor alone can make a man likable. Assertiveness alone can make a man respected. But together, they create something different. Humor signals intelligence, ease, and warmth. Assertiveness signals strength, direction, and confidence. A man who has both is warm but not soft, strong but not rigid. And that combination is almost impossible to resist. Because women aren't choosing between fun and reliable. They're looking for both, in the same person. And when a man can be genuinely funny without losing his edge, when he can hold a position while still being light about it, that's the balance most men never find. The men who do don't have to try very hard for attention. It comes to them. Here's a key insight. It's not arrogance or aggression that attracts. It's controlled boldness and subtle fearlessness. Arrogance pushes people away. It creates distance. It makes others feel small. But boldness, the quiet, grounded, controlled kind, that pulls people in because it doesn't diminish anyone. It just stands firm in itself. And there's a difference between fearlessness and recklessness, too. Recklessness is impulsive. Fearlessness is considered. A fearless man has thought about the risk, understood it, and moved anyway. Not because he doesn't care about the outcome, but because he trusts himself enough to handle whatever comes. That's the version of fearlessness women respond to, not the kind that burns everything down, the kind that walks forward calmly into uncertainty. Sign number 7. He handles rejection without panic. Every man fears rejection, but a man who reacts calmly to no, without anger, desperation, or self-doubt, demonstrates emotional resilience. Women notice, subconsciously. It triggers respect, curiosity, and even attraction. Here's why this sign is so revealing. Rejection is a stress test. It strips away the performance, it removes the favorable conditions, and it shows you exactly who a man is when things don't go his way. Most men fail this test badly, not because they're bad people, but because rejection feels like evidence. Evidence that they're not enough. Evidence that they should have done something differently. So they react, they push back, they go cold, they get desperate. All of which communicates the same thing. My sense of self is tied to your approval. And that's the exact opposite of what creates attraction. Now contrast that with a man who hears no, nods, maybe even smiles slightly, and moves on without carrying it. That reaction communicates something powerful. My value doesn't change based on your answer. I'm not threatened by this. I was okay before this moment, and I'm okay after it. That's emotional self-containment, and it's one of the rarest and most attractive qualities a man can display. Sign number 8. He takes small risks comfortably, not reckless risks, safe, subtle risks, trying something new socially, taking initiative in conversation, expressing an opinion others might avoid. It signals confidence, boldness, and independence. Women respond to this subconsciously. Here's the thing about small risks. They reveal character faster than almost anything else, because risk, even small risk, requires something. It requires a man to value the potential reward more than he fears the potential embarrassment. And most men don't have that equation sorted. Most men calculate the risk of looking foolish and decide to stay quiet, stay safe, stay invisible. But a man who takes the small risk, who initiates the conversation, who expresses the opinion, who tries the thing most men hesitate on, signals that he's operating from a different internal framework, one where he trusts his ability to handle the outcome, whatever it is. And that trust in himself is exactly what she's responding to. Not the risk itself, but what the willingness to take it reveals about who he is. And now, the final trait. This one is subtle, but if you master it, women will start noticing you without you saying a word. Sign number 9. He prioritizes himself without being selfish. The ultimate bad boy trait. A man who values himself, his time, and his energy without being cruel or dismissive. Women notice boundaries, self-respect, and emotional independence. It's a classic attraction trigger. Here's why this is the most powerful sign on the entire list. Because most men do the opposite. They overgive. They over-accommodate. They reshape themselves constantly to be whatever the situation seems to require. And it comes from a good place. They want to be liked. They want to be valued. They want to avoid conflict. But the result is a man with no edges, no center, no clear sense of what he stands for. And women can feel that absence immediately. Contrast that with a man who has a relationship with his own time, his own energy, his own priorities. He says no when something doesn't align with him. Not coldly, not dramatically, just clearly. He protects his schedule not because he's rigid, but because he respects himself enough to. And that self-respect creates something interesting, because a man who values himself becomes someone worth valuing. His time means something because he treats it like it means something. His attention means something because he doesn't give it away freely to everyone. His presence feels significant because he doesn't make himself constantly available to avoid discomfort. That's not selfishness, that's self-possession. And self-possession is the foundation every other trait on this list is built on. What all 9 traits have in common. Step back for a second, because if you look at all 9 of these traits, there's a single thread running through every one of them. None of them are about impressing anyone. They're all expressions of a man who has already impressed himself, a man who knows what he thinks, knows how he wants to move through the world, knows his own value without needing it confirmed. And that inner certainty is what every single trait on this list is communicating. Which means the work isn't in performing these traits, it's in building the foundation underneath them. Because when the foundation is real, the traits emerge naturally. You don't have to remember to be calm, you just are. You don't have to try to be decisive, it's simply how you move. And women don't respond to the performance of these traits, they respond to the reality of them. Final layer. So now you see it. It's not about arrogance, danger, or aggression. It's about boldness, emotional control, the fearlessness to be yourself, subtle rule-breaking, self-respect. Most men are too afraid to show it, not because they don't have it, but because they've been taught that making themselves smaller is safer. It isn't. The men who step into their full presence, who speak what they think, who hold their ground without needing to fight for it, who value themselves without waiting for permission to, those men don't have to chase attention. They generate it, quietly, consistently, without even trying. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to understand female psychology, attraction triggers, and the deeper psychology of relationships, check out the other videos on this channel. Once you notice these subtle patterns, you'll never appear ordinary again. Now tell me, which of these traits are you already showing? And which ones have you been too afraid to express?